10 signs it is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is an insidious form of mistreatment that can severely impact an individual's mental health and overall well-being. Unlike physical abuse, which leaves visible scars, emotional abuse inflicts psychological wounds that can be just as damaging and long-lasting. Recognizing the signs of emotional abuse is crucial for those who might be experiencing it, as well as for those who wish to support others in abusive situations. This video delves into the 10 definitive signs that indicate emotional abuse, offering comprehensive details and actionable insights to help identify and address this pervasive issue. 1. Constant criticism and degradation. One of the most obvious signs of emotional abuse is constant criticism. An emotionally abusive person will continually belittle and devalue their partner, friend, or family member. This can include making harsh remarks about one's appearance, intelligence, capabilities, or worth. The goal is to undermine the victim's self-esteem, making them feel inadequate and unworthy. Impact of constant criticism. The constant degradation erodes the victim's self-confidence, leading them to doubt their abilities and worth. Over time, this can result in severe anxiety, depression, and a sense of hopelessness. 2. Isolation from friends and family. Abusers often isolate their victims from their support network. This tactic ensures that the victim becomes increasingly dependent on the abuser for emotional and social needs. Isolation can be achieved by forbidding the victim to see or communicate with friends and family, spreading false information to alienate the victim from their loved ones, or physically relocating them away from their support system. Consequences of isolation. Isolation can leave the victim feeling lonely and trapped, making it difficult for them to seek help or support. This enhances the abuser's control and makes it harder for the victim to leave the abusive situation. 3. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological manipulation tactic where the abuser makes the victim question their own reality, memory, or perceptions. This can involve denying that certain events happened, twisting facts, or staging bizarre events with the intent of disorienting the victim. Effects of gaslighting. Gaslighting can lead to severe confusion, loss of confidence in one's mental faculties, and a deep sense of self-doubt. Victims may feel they are losing their sanity and become increasingly reliant on the abuser for a semblance of stability and reality. 4. Unpredictable reactions. An emotionally abusive individual often exhibits unpredictable behavior. They may alternate between affection and aggression, leaving the victim in a constant state of anxiety, never knowing what will trigger the next outburst. This unpredictability keeps the victim on edge, continually trying to please the abuser to avoid conflict. Psychological impact. This inconsistency can lead to chronic stress, anxiety disorders, and a constant feeling of walking on eggshells. The victim may also struggle with decision-making and develop a heightened fear of conflict. 5. Blaming and shaming. Abusers often blame their victims for everything that goes wrong, whether it's in their personal lives or within the relationship. They may shame the victim for their feelings, behaviors, or even for the abuse itself, implying that the victim provoked or deserved the mistreatment. Long-term effects. Blaming and shaming can deeply damage the victim's self-worth and self-image. Over time, the victim may internalize these accusations, leading to guilt, self-blame, and further psychological distress. 6. Financial control. Financial abuse is another tactic used by emotional abusers to exert control over their victims. This can include restricting access to finances, demanding accountability for every expense, or outright stealing from the victim. By controlling the victim's financial resources, the abuser ensures dependency. Impact on victims. Financial control limits the victim's ability to leave the abusive relationship, seek independence, or even access basic needs. It can create a sense of helplessness and entrapment. 7. Manipulative apologies. An abuser may offer manipulative apologies to keep the victim from leaving. These apologies are often insincere and accompanied by promises to change, which are rarely kept. The abuser may also downplay the abuse, making the victim question the severity of their experience. Psychological manipulation. These apologies can create a cycle of hope and disappointment, making the victim stay in the relationship in the belief that things might improve. It perpetuates the cycle of abuse and reinforces the abuser's control. 8. Controlling behavior. Controlling behavior is a hallmark of emotional abuse. This can manifest in various ways, such as dictating what the victim wears, who they can see, and how they spend their time. The abuser seeks to dominate every aspect of the victim's life to maintain power and control. Effects on autonomy. This control can erode the victim's sense of autonomy and individuality. It can lead to a loss of personal freedom and self-identity, making it difficult for the victim to assert themselves or leave the relationship. Number 9. Withholding affection. Emotionally abusive individuals may withhold affection as a form of punishment or control. They might give the silent treatment, withdraw physical affection, or refuse to provide emotional support. This tactic is used to manipulate the victim's behavior by making them crave the abuser's approval and affection. Emotional consequences. Withholding affection can lead to feelings of worthlessness and rejection. The victim may become desperate for the abuser's validation, further entrenching them in the abusive cycle. 10. Threats and intimidation. Threats and intimidation are common tactics used by emotional abusers to instill fear and compliance. This can include threats of physical harm, self-harm, harm to loved ones, or threats to reveal sensitive information. Intimidation can also involve aggressive gestures, destruction of property, or other forms of coercion. Fear and compliance. Such tactics create an environment of fear and anxiety, making the victim feel powerless and controlled. The constant threat of harm or retribution can paralyze the victim, preventing them from seeking help or escaping the abusive situation. Conclusion. Recognizing the signs of emotional abuse is the first step towards seeking help and breaking free from the cycle of abuse. It is essential to acknowledge these behaviors and understand their profound impact on one's mental and emotional health. Support from friends, family, and professional services can be crucial in overcoming the effects of emotional abuse and rebuilding a sense of self-worth and independence.